What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast, episode 3. What's going on? What's going on? Happy
What's going
Wednesday.
on?
I'm your host, Gladia Castro. Got my co-host, Tim Park.
What up,
We got
fam? What up, fam?
another fire episode today. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, whatever it is. If you've been feeling down on your luck, man, our guest is gonna, pick you up. So
I
I'm
don't think
really,
they're
really
ready.
excited. They're not ready. They're not ready. But before we get all into that, uh, please make sure to follow us on YouTube, subscribe. We're on Instagram at Get the Bag Podcast, 1T. And you'll see our handle down here for our own IG accounts. But we want to see you guys in the comments because I'm telling you, this guy we have on he's doing amazing things. And especially once you hear his story, we want as many questions for him. Okay. He does it all. He's a keynote speaker, he's a leader, an author, wrote a book called Keep the Change. Make sure you guys cop that. He'll dig more into his story, but amazing story. Went through some tough times early on, but was able to turn things around. Kind of been in real estate maybe under 2 years, first year in real estate, bet all on himself, quit his job, and went full time in real estate to pursue, the best life for him and his family. Fast forward now, he's running successful 6-figure business, wholesaling and opening up other businesses. So can't wait to see what he has, in store. So much he does within his community and inspiring others. So be ready to be inspired. Let's welcome Thaabit Hedgepeth to the Get the Bag episode 3. What's going on, Thaabit?
Let's
What's up,
go.
fam? What's up, you fam? How y'all doing?
Oh man, we good.
We
We
good. We
great. We're
good.
great.
Awesome,
Glad to have you
awesome.
on, bro. Glad to have you on, man.
I appreciate y'all having me. Love the intro, Gladia. Definitely love the
I did
intro.
my little research, you know what I mean? Like that is, and any guests we have on, like you guys take the time, we want to take, the time too and getting to know like your background. Obviously, like, we've been in the U for a minute, so we kind of know your story, but like we want to bless you with kind of the hard work and that you've put in. So
You
super,
did your
super
research.
excited to have you here. It's how we do it. It's how we do it, get the bag.
Exactly. Try
That's
next
what's
Uh,
up.
level here.
little stalkerish, but when you got to research the sellers, you got to get into it. So, um, welcome again to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because obviously, like I mentioned, we know you. Maybe some people in the comments know you, but I think for many people, like who don't know like what you do, like where you've come from, tell us a little bit about Thaabit.
Most definitely. So I'm a husband. Been married for almost 15 years now. Me and my wife will be
Wow,
celebrating,
congrats.
yeah,
Yeah,
15-year
congrats.
anniversary here in a couple months. Father of 3 kids. I'm Muslim, and obviously, I'm a go-getter, right? I'm
Hmm.
around you guys. We're all a part of the U fam. Shout out to Chris Jefferson with Charged Up Youth.
Shout out to the
Uh,
you.
been in real estate now for a little over 2 years. And, my goal at this point, I've accomplished a lot of things. I love what you all are doing here with this podcast. You're really demonstrating that you're for the people. You're giving out a lot of free game. And, my personal goal is really just to help people who are ambitious, like us, who are go getters. I really want to help people that feel trapped, that feel unfulfilled. I want to just kind of help them uncage their purposes and their passions and find a way to just really regain control over their lives.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
that's
love that. And you're
awesome.
doing that. And I see you, I didn't really mention this in the intro, but I see you're doing like YouTube, you started a YouTube channel,
Hmm.
super inspiring. Anytime you jump on a call, whether it's like the morning call or, our weekly calls, like you kind of always leave that inspiration and motivation. Because, you've been through it, like the ups and
Yeah,
downs, and you've made it, and you still have a lot to go. There's so much potential. But I think a lot of people probably who were maybe once in your shoes at some point, it's easy to give up, right?
For sure.
So listening to your story and to know that you've overcome it, I think is a great thing. And the value that you're adding is just amazing.
No, definitely. And I know you mentioned, my story. I think we all have a story.
Mm-hmm.
And, you
Mm,
know, trust and believe, I'm motivated by you guys, right? You
Mm-hmm.
guys are really trendsetters. You stepped out and really got focused on building value, with the side of YouTube, just giving out free game, free content. So just really seeing, you all kind of creating a story for yourself, not just in real estate but in content creation, it really
Mm-hmm.
motivated and inspired me to say, you know what, I have a story as well, and I think it's important for people to have someone that they can relate to and understand that they're
mm,
not in this by themselves, right? They can really
right.
accomplish their goals and dreams. So shout out to y'all for just really stepping out and making it happen.
Hey,
Appreciate that,
appreciate
man.
you. Yeah, appreciate
Definitely.
you for sure, man. And it means a lot to us because you're a leader within the group, and we look up to you as well too. And
Yep.
you have so much value, and your story is so powerful. And we feel like everybody kind of needs to hear that because people that resonate with me or Gladia is going to resonate with you different. So they might gravitate to your story more than my story or Gladia's story. So I think that's what it's all about right there too. So it's just who's going to, who you're going to resonate with the most out there by, giving out this content. So hats off to you for starting your
Absolutely.
own thing too. So
I appreciate it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so tell us a little bit more about how you got into real estate, wholesaling, and about your first year into it, and then just kind of explain how you got into it.
Definitely. So this was, kind of the end of a, long journey of just really trying to find my true purpose and passion in life. When you're out here just going to get it, you're gonna find a way, you're gonna make a way. And I've done a lot of things in my life, from the good to the bad. I
Mm,
obviously have a very tainted background. I was in prison from the ages of 16 to 25 for a very violent crime. That it was more of a life or death situation,
mm,
and I ultimately had to choose life in terms of letting some things go and moving forward. And upon being released from prison, I stepped into what most convicted felons do, right? You
mm,
find a job in, minimum wage industries. So I ended up landing in fast food. And it was just one of those things where I understood that I was just going to do whatever it takes to not go back to prison and then to further be successful in life, because I had made that decision that I was gonna be success, right? I had made that decision that because God kept me here, there must be some purpose for me. So if that means
Mm,
I got to go to and work at McDonald's for minimum wage just to stay out of the streets, just to understand how I can make a further impact in my life, that's what I'm gonna do. But along the way, like most people, you kind of get comfortable in a thing and you know that you're not supposed to be there. So I was
mm,
always constantly searching for ways to, have a broader impact on people, which ultimately led me to write a book, Keep the Change, which was about my transformation from the inside out. I also began speaking, and my brother would always tell me about real estate, like, hey, bro, like there's this huge opportunity here. Like, I know you have the hustle. I know you have the drive. Like, if you just took all of that energy and you put it into real estate, like you're gonna do something huge. And for a long time, I really didn't listen to him. I didn't understand real estate. I just thought that real estate was for this certain class of people. You had to
right.
mm,
be uber knowledgeable. You had to have all this money. But I finally decided to give it a shot. And once again, shout out to our guy Chris Jefferson. I
Shout
caught a
out to
cold call
Chris.
challenge him, with some guys, a couple of guys just making cold calls. And I said,
mm,
you know what, like those are the type of people that I want to surround myself with. Those are the type of people that I need to be around if I want to understand how to escape the trap that I'm currently in and working 60, 70 hours a week and be successful, both financially, mentally, and spiritually.
I love that. One
Yeah.
thing that stuck out there, um, you mentioned, hey, after prison, I just found a job and I knew I was gonna
mm,
be past that, but I I knew what I had to do. And not many people in your situation, they would have gone back to what got them in prison, right? And I'm sure you know people who, you know, unfortunately, because they go back to what they know, what they're comfortable doing. And just like, because, you know, maybe internally they don't, you know, they're suffering, right? That's usually kind of, you know, you kind of have to dig deep. But you were like, no, I want a different path than what
Mm-hmm.
that's led me here. I know I'm better than that. And you stuck with that. And I think that's something to really point out and acknowledge, because not many people will do that. They'll do what's comfortable, and you automatically out the gate, you know, we're like, no, I'm going to be as uncomfortable as I can. And then here comes real estate. I don't know. How long
Mm-hmm.
ago was that when you were introduced, or when your brother told you about it?
Believe it or not, he probably started telling me about real estate back in like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm,
I didn't get serious about it. I didn't even start really researching it until July of 2020. Um,
gotcha.
so that's
Wow.
when I started going down the YouTube rabbit hole of information about how to get started in real estate, what's wholesaling, how to be an investor. And that's what really began my journey back in July of 2020.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think you know, kind of COVID and everything happening kind of got us more on like, all right, we got to figure something out. So, so you found Chris, you joined the U. Tell us how that first year went, because a lot of things happened that first year, right? Like,
Most
talk
definitely.
to us about
Mm-hmm.
like your ups and downs, because you know a lot of people listening in, maybe they haven't closed their first deal yet, they just joined a program, whatnot. Like, you know, I think it's important to kind of hear, like, you know, because you hear it now, like, oh yeah, I'm running 6-figure company,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, we all started somewhere.
Exactly, right. That's the highlight. I run a six-figure business, but it really started because, as you mentioned, in the midst of COVID, I'm working in the food service industry, and
Mm-hmm.
this was an industry that was greatly impacted because we literally had to shut down, operations. We had to close our dining areas. We went to drive-through only, focus. You had a lot of
Mm,
people who were scared to work and things like that. So
right.
what actually happened was my boss, we had 5 stores at the time. My boss made salary cuts across the board, from upper management all the way down to the crew level. And I lost $1,000 a month of my income with
Mm,
Mm.
no questions asked. Nobody, had a conversation with me about how was I going to be able to provide for my family? How was I going to keep the lights on? How was I going to pay my mortgage, losing $1,000 a month? A lot of people barely make $1,000 a month. So just
right.
imagine being in a position to where I'm the breadwinner of my household and I have someone else who's controlling my ability to take care of my family. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention that earlier when I talked about my journey, but that was really the push to get me out of that comfortable space that I was in. Because at the
Mm,
time, I was just focused on career development. I
right.
was just focused on my 9 to 5 and giving my time to someone else. So once that happened, it literally took me 5 seconds to say, what are the opportunities available? Oh, my brother been telling me about this real estate thing. Let me just give it some of my attention. And the moment I did, and the moment that I start seeing that, wow, there are people making 10,000, 20,000, $50,000 checks off of a simple transaction. I said, this is me. So the
Mm.
process began with me literally watching a couple of videos and saying, okay, I can get started with bandit signs. Let me go out and just buy 500 bandit signs. And that's
Mm,
where it began. So I would, work 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I would come home, I would take those bandit signs, and I would be out in the streets like I used to be, right? So I
right.
was familiar with being out in the streets for my criminal days, and I would literally be out. I would literally be out in the streets at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, putting up these bandit signs, and I did that for my first 6 months, trying to do it the YouTube route, trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out myself with no deals to show for it, with no contracts to show for it. And that's when I knew that I needed some type of guidance. I needed a
Right.
coach. So I joined Charged Up University back in December of 2020. It was actually Black Friday, but I didn't start taking action until December. And the moment that I got my hands on the blueprint to do deals, is kind of a step by step process to make my first deal happen. I got my first contract within those first 7 days.
That's
Mm,
So I
awesome.
went 6+ months without having a contract, without having a seller who was, really motivated, really interested in selling, to jumping into the U. And in those first 7 days, I got my very first contract. And less than 30 days later, I closed my first deal for 2,100. And I really
Nice.
Wow.
hadn't looked back since. And I made the decision once I got that deal, once I got that check, that this was going to be the way for me to get out of my 9 to 5 and to start signing my own checks and get control of my life back. So that
Hmm.
first year, from July of 2020 to July of 2021, I think I only did maybe 3 deals. I made a decent amount of money, but July 4th of 2021, I made the decision that that was going to be my last day that I worked for somebody else, and I went full time in business.
Mm,
Wow. That's
that's amazing.
that's a whole, like, we can totally unpack that, like, for the rest of
Yeah, I
the
know we could.
episode. Another thing that kind of stood out is your back was against the wall. You lost
Hmm.
$1,000. And this is where mentality, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, comes into play, because if any other person goes through that, they're like, damn, what am I going to do? There's nothing I
Hmm.
can do. They just want to sit and complain about it instead of
Most
doing something
definitely.
about it. But
Right.
I always say, when your back is against the wall, that's when, you create, like, brilliance, because you have nothing to lose. It's like there's no way to go but moving forward. And you moved your family forward by figuring it out. Obviously you did 6 months of bandit signs, which, without, having any guidance. And once you got that guidance, you took action. You didn't just, like, sit and watch and think, like, oh, well, let me just finish this course. Let me just finish this course. Because that's what happens, where we get stuck, what they call analysis paralysis.
Hmm.
But you took that blueprint and literally took action, and you closed your deal in 30 days, like, literally within a month of you joining. Like, that's unheard of. Not many people do that, and just shows kind of the dedication you had. And that, with anybody in this,
Hmm.
in here, anybody can do it, guys. Like, literally, Thaabit just took, especially if you're in Chris's program, he literally took what we all have access to and just applied action to it.
100%.
Definitely.
100%. And just going back to what you said, is that, like, I think it's the shock factor, right? A lot of people, they got to get shocked into doing something, right? And the shock factor is losing your job, right? There's a panic mode. There's what am I going to do next? And then some people just go back into the same routine. Some people
Yep.
take massive action and say, I'm going to do this because this happened, right? And I think that's
Exactly.
what you did. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, because they might be in that position right now, to where they just lost their job and they don't know what to do next. And they've always wanted to get in real estate, like yourself, myself, and Gladia. So I think that was a good point. The other point is that, like Gladia said, massive action. You kind of made that decision. There was that mental click, in your mind, that you're gonna go 100% into this. And that's the key right there. I hope you guys are listening right there, because once you make that
Yeah.
decision, it's a different ball game, for sure. One thing I do want to ask you is that, since you got your first deal in the U with that 20K check, um, how did that feel for you? Like, how did that feel? Was that, like, I know you said that, man, I'm not going back after that, but how did it feel holding that check?
Yeah, it felt powerful. It felt invigorating. It felt like I had finally arrived at the destination that God had pulled me towards. I think, once again, when you're really a go-getter, when you have ambition, when you just want to make it happen in life, you want to be successful. I think that you have this internal pull that
Mm,
you're constantly trying to figure out, where am I going? And I think what held me back for so long is what I think holds a lot of people back. We live life on two edges, one of, fear and hope, right? And the other of just uncertainty. We're really fearful of the possibilities of what can happen. And we're hoping that if I just stay in this moment, if I just stay in this situation, things will remain the same. I can be comfortable. I don't have to change anything. And when for me, my life did feel out of control at a certain point because
Right.
once again, I knew that that moment was going to come. I knew that that day was going to come where somebody was going to make a decision that was going to impact my life. I hoped it wouldn't happen. I was fearful that it would happen, but it did. So what that had to teach me in that moment was the key to really regaining that control was understanding how to just let go of those fears, how to let go of those uncertainties, and to understand that the only thing I can truly control is what you mentioned, Tim, which is just my action. That's the
Mm.
only thing that I can control. So once I started really just putting maximum effort into doing the most action possible, and I finally closed that deal, I then had the secret. I then had the cheat code, which is once
Mm.
again, you got to let go of your fears. You got to let go of the hopes that things will happen. You have to put all of that energy, all of that focus into the action that you can control, the daily, consistent routines and habits that you can build in your life to really help you be successful and accomplish your goals.
Ooh, love that. I mean, you
Mhm.
just dropped the mic right there. We can just end the episode. Like we're good. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you talk about fear and living in a kind of the edge of fear, hope, uncertainty. Um, you know, you quit your job. I mean, that's a big thing. But for you, you already made up in your mind and your body that you knew what where you needed to be, and so it didn't matter. You trusted the process. You trusted yourself. You trusted in everything that you committed to this. I think I was reading somewhere that said a lot of times like when we set our goals or kind of set like the vision that we want to work towards, sometimes we have our mind like in terms of like internally saying I got this, but sometimes your body isn't ready for that. You don't have like that whole like your whole self is not prepared to make that jump, and so it's not aligned. So once you align like your mind, body, and soul into what it is that you want to commit to, things just start opening up. And maybe that's, and I'd love to kind of talk about that, like once you quit your job, like once you were aligned with yourself, like how like did you feel like that weight was lifted off and you can finally be you and like build, you know, build your future? Like is that kind of how it worked out?
Yeah, that it would be nice if that was how it happened. I mean, you're in real estate, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're a go getter, you're always out
Hey.
here making things happen. And I think the biggest tool that has really helped me to be successful, the thing that ultimately changed my life from being this drug dealer, being this violent person, this person who could not control their emotions, who really let their feelings dominate how they acted in life. The thing that changed me was my ability to really accept responsibility and ownership.
Mm,
That was it. That
Mm.
my future was literally in my hands. Now, once again, I'm always going to give glory to God. God is in
right.
control of everything, and He has blessed me in my life. But what I've come to understand is I have complete responsibility and ownership of the things that I can do every single day. So the decision to let go of my job was a very tough decision. Once
Yeah.
again, you're letting go of a comfortable income. You're letting go of a comfortable situation where you can rely on this check week after week, month after
Yeah.
month. So you think. So once I began to sign my own checks, I understood that though I'm letting go of something which can and will be a hindrance, the more that I continue to do this thing, I'm now taking on a certain level of ownership and responsibility that's going to
Yep.
pay me 10 times over.
Mm.
Right.
So the work obviously didn't stop, right?
Mm,
The same work ethic, the same energy and focus that I put into this 9 to 5, where I'm literally working 60, 70 hours a week, for me, the equation was simple. I can just take that same level of work ethic and I'm going to have to apply it to my business if I want it to take me even further. In my job, I'm just going to be transparent. I had an $80,000 a year salary. Once again, I took $1,000 a month pay cut. We have a household where we have just one income.
Mhm.
So for me, the possibility of letting this $80,000 a year salary go, but the opportunity to make six figures, it was a responsibility that I was willing to take. And I think
right.
most of us, we just simply have to make that decision. Are we going to take complete responsibility and ownership of our lives, or are we going to allow something for us?
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's I think people, that's what holds them back, right? Is like
Mm-hmm.
they're not willing to take that responsibility. They're like, I'd rather have it on someone, somebody else be responsible for that. Because like you said, being an entrepreneur, you're bringing on people to work on your team, and so you're
Mm-hmm.
responsible for their wages, and you're responsible for others besides yourself. Like that's kind of the pressure that's on you as an entrepreneur, and so if you're not willing to take those responsibilities and take those actions, you're gonna have a tough time running a business, because it's about making those tough decisions. And
Exactly right.
I just, yeah, and I just love how, again, like how you mentioned, hey, I'm working 60, 70 hours a week. I can just take that. And it's funny because we work so hard when it comes to our jobs or other people, but when it comes to ourselves, we don't give ourselves that credit, or we don't commit to ourselves that same amount of energy. And I didn't really understand this until I started a business where I was like, yo, I'm making somebody else a million or a millionaire, right? Why can't I do that and
Absolutely.
turn around and do that for myself? And not everybody's built that way, and that's okay, because, we need people to, you know, work for us. But,
Exactly.
but I mean, it's the truth. Like, people are willing to work so hard for others instead of themselves. So something to think about. Definitely, anybody listening who works 9 to 5. I still work a 9 to 5, and I made it where I want to, work towards like quitting my job at some point. But I kind of want to like uncover, once you quit your job, like how did the business go? Like, what are some challenges you ran into? I know you kind of were still had some things to figure out even after quitting your job. You probably closed some deals that kind of had some cushion. Talk to us about that journey from then until now.
Definitely. So yeah, as I mentioned, it didn't get any easier. And just for the listeners, just for the people who are currently in the situation that I was in, maybe you've done a couple deals and you're thinking, should I do this full time? Because man, I just don't have the time. My job is so draining. I got to spend time with my family. Should I just give up my job? And there's nothing wrong with having a job. But for me, once again, I could no longer live on that edge of fear, hope, and uncertainty. On the other side of that, I only had about $20,000. Okay, I had a deal that was set to close. It hadn't closed yet. That was going to be about a $15,000 deal. And then I only had $5,000 in savings. So
Mm,
for me, it was, can I make this $20,000 work until I get my next deal? And I had things in the pipeline. I had sellers who were motivated, who they were definitely interested in selling. But as you come to learn, you can't bet on a seller that you don't have under contract. You can't even bet on a seller that you have under contract, right? You can't bet on it until the wire hits the
mm,
account.
right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I left my job. I had that $20,000, and I didn't close another deal until 4 months later.
Mm.
Mm,
So I had to make it work. So there were a lot of challenges. There was challenges, obviously financially, but the biggest hurdle was just in my mindset. And
mm,
because, like you mentioned, you have to be built for this. You have to have gone through some type of challenges, some type of struggles in your life to understand what it means to just kind of be at the bottom and to come up out of that. And no, you don't have to go to prison. That just happened to be my experience, right?
right,
Right.
right.
We all have a story, we all have a level of challenge that we deal with in our lives. So when you can just simply take that formula of how you dealt with challenges previously in your life and apply it to new challenges, you'll be successful. So even when I was at rock bottom, when my account literally went to zero, because it did, even when that happened, and once again, as you mentioned, my back was up against the wall when I lost $1,000 a month. So I understood what it felt like to have nothing. But the beauty of being at the bottom is that the only way for you to go is up.
Yep.
So what ended up happening was, after I closed that next deal, which was then a $15,000 deal, and this was around November of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
that was all the money I had. And I'd been trying to figure this thing out for myself. And once again, I just couldn't get it to click. So that's when I decided to just take that money and invest in some one-on-one mentorship. And that's when I
Mm.
got mentorship from Chris Jefferson, and really got a deeper blueprint into how to build my business. And I literally took the blueprint that he gave me with $0 in my account. $0. I literally went 3 months just living off of credit cards. That was how I
Man, we've been
supported
there, man.
Yeah.
exactly. And I was scared of that moment. A lot of
Hmm.
people were scared of that moment. But I came out of that moment into 2022 and did my biggest month yet at $60,000. And after that, I didn't look back. And that's
Congrats.
what led
It's
me, that
amazing.
one decision just to bet all in on myself led me to being able to position myself for a six-figure business.
Mm, that's amazing.
Man.
I love that. I love that, man. That's especially, I think the mindset piece is crucial. I mean, you are dropping a lot of bars today. And that's one piece that people need to understand, is that if, once you make that shift and then you actually, you know, have the blueprint and then you do it, there's going to be adversity. Like, everybody goes through adversity, but you have to go through some kind of adversity to make sure you push through the hard times or the low times when there's zero money in the account or negative in the account. So what's going to push you forward and not panic? Because I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Thaabit, when you were talking to Chris, you know, there was some worry in your voice on what to do next, and you were literally at that point where it was a crucial time for you to make it happen or not. So, I we seen you through that moment and see where you are now. Man, it's like, if Thaabit can do it, I can do it, you can do it, out there that's listening, whoever's in the group, you can do it for sure. So, man, it's an amazing progression that you've gone through, and I love it. So,
Most definitely. Yeah, the only way that you're going to make it in this business and in any business, the only way that you're going to get any level of success is to really accept the fact that I don't have total control over everything. So I think a
Mm.
lot of people burn themselves out by, trying to get so organized, try to gather so much information, try to figure everything out before they even take one step towards action, right?
Right.
yeah.
You
Hmm.
have to learn to let things go. It's like parachuting, right? Not sure if you've ever, parachuting, but before you
Nah.
jump out of that plane, you're still holding on to dear life. You're still holding on to everything that's comfortable and convenient to you. But you got to get out of that plane, because you know that plane is going to eventually come to an end. You got to get out of it.
Mm,
Therefore, you
Right.
have to be able to let go of the conveniences and the comfortability that you have, and you got to just jump. Like, you got the parachute. The parachute is going to open. It's open time
hmm
and time again. And I think for me, once again, just knowing that I've been in these situations before, I've had my back up against the wall. And for me, God always made a way. So in
mm,
that moment
that's
when,
important.
like you mentioned, there was a lot of uncertainty still, there was a lot of concern, there were even fears. And I think it's really important to understand that for me, as I began that process of change and transformation from this person that I was very cold, I was very emotionless, it was important for me to start embracing the feelings that I had, to accept the fact that these feelings are real. So I might have fear, I might have uncertainty, I might, feel alone, I might even be depressed sometimes. All of these things are real,
Mm,
but there's always a different side. There's always a side of happiness. There's always a side of positivity. There's always a side of being on top, even when you're at the bottom. The only way that you're going to get there is just to keep going, just to let go of whatever it is you're holding on to, and you're hoping it's going to keep you safe. You're hoping it's going to keep you fed. Let go of that and just jump out there.
mm,
I love that. I love that. analogy that you use. I think too many people hold on and never let go, and then they say, "Oh, it never worked. It never worked for me." It's like, how do you know? You never let go. You never jumped out and trusted in yourself. And those are the people that are on their dying bed and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done that." And I don't know. It's just really inspiring to. I can hear, I can feel that energy. Like
Yeah, 100%.
mentally, you're just like nothing phases me. Of course, I'm going to run into some hurdles, like anything. Life isn't perfect like that, but I'm prepared to do it. I'm prepared to create solutions, not problems. And I think we have to approach it. I think that's where that mental aspects, that mental barrier, that when we hit a wall, a lot of people can't get through that because they're just not mentally there. They don't have that strength. They haven't built that up. Right. And I think just having that acceptance, like you can't control everything. Um, Embrace that things are going to happen, and that's where you have to take control, but don't I think that's why people get so overanalyze everything, because they think they have to control everything, like you said. And just kind of talking to new people that have joined the group or just in conversation, that's kind of they it's funny how they see problems, right? They see that as like a problem, and it's like, oh, you're just getting started, like this is nothing, right? Like and
Yeah.
so it's just hindsight's 2020 and how you view it. It's like, are you glass half full or glass half empty? And that's like
Right.
a simple analogy, but I don't know. I just love this. If you guys are loving this, that are watching, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you follow Thaabit on IG, man. He has amazing things going. One thing, and also make sure if you have any questions for Thaabit, make sure you post in the comment.
100%.
But one thing I did want to kind of unpack was how was your business? What changes did you make? Obviously, you invested in coaching with Chris, and that seemed to be a game changer. Like, how did you? What kind of changes did you make in your business to set you up to where you're at now? Because obviously, it was after that where things really started clicking and deals, consistent deal flow started coming in to get you to a 6-figure business.
For sure, for sure. So you're asking me to really give some top secret sauce here on
Hey,
how
it's
to
only for
create
the
a
Hey.
people,
six-figure
man.
business.
Yeah, it's only
No, that's
for the
what's up.
it's all for the people.
Definitely. So for your listeners, once again, I'm really gonna give you just the anatomy of a deal. That's what I began to understand the more that I worked with Chris, and the more I was within the U and saw people like yourself, saw people like Tim create humongous deals. I don't know how much y'all talk about the deals that you do, but in just listening to those deals and just locking in and tuning into your channel, people will really understand, okay, what's the play? Like if I want to make 30, 40, $50,000 a deal, what does that really look like? And for me, it's just very simple. Whatever your backyard is, you can't be married to that. So
Mm.
if you're in, Badunka, Texas somewhere, and you got one stoplight in your entire town, that's probably not the place to market for deals, right? So I think it's very important that initially you have to understand what's the best market for you to be in. And the simplest way to do that is to know where buyers are. So you have to follow the cash. That's it. Start where the cash is at. If there are no cash transactions happening, you probably shouldn't be there. So in my business, I understood that if I want to get consistent and if I want to make big checks, I got to be where the cash is. So just follow the money. That's step number one. Step number two, you have to get really clear on a marketing strategy. And I think people spend so much time trying to do
Yeah.
everything, which was, the thing that helped me the most when I got into the business. I was trying to do bandit signs. I was trying to cold call. I was, thinking about direct mail. I was thinking about texting. I was thinking about being in all these Facebook groups and trying to source leads there and being on Craigslist. I was trying to figure out all these different ways to get leads. But I came to understand once again, you can only really focus on one or two things. And in my business right now, I'm just focusing on SMS and I'm focusing on cold calling. That's it. Now, are there other opportunities and different marketing strategies outside of what I'm doing now? Most certainly, there are people killing it in direct mail. There are people killing it in Facebook ads. There are people killing it in TV ads. But for
Right.
me, kind of as a one-man show right now, I can't focus on everything. So once I got clear on my marketing strategy, then it just became about handling leads as they entered the pipeline, because leads will start to flow. And
Right.
once they start to flow, then you got to understand how to actually make a deal. Like, none of us are handed $20,000 deals, $30,000 deals.
Nope.
These are things that you actually have to figure out a way to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And once that really clicked in my mind, that I'm not here to sell somebody something, right? I'm just here to provide a solution to a problem that they already have. I'm not trying to create a problem. I'm not trying to convince them of a problem. The only thing that I'm doing is evaluating what they're telling me about the problem that they're having, right? So maybe the house has been sitting vacant, for 2 years. Maybe they have a tenant that's not paying their monthly rent on time, and they've been dealing with this tenant for months. Maybe the house needs $40,000-$50,000 in repairs, and they don't have the money to put into it, nor do they have the time to try to figure out anything. When they're telling me these things, I'm thinking about the solutions that I have as an investor, because I can
Mm-hmm.
buy the deal or I can find someone else to work with on the deal. And once I understand that I just have to provide them with a solution, now, because I'm already in a solid market where I know there's cash transactions happening, no matter what my exit is, whether it's I want to fix and flip it, is whether I want to turn it into a short-term or a long-term rental, or maybe I just want to partner with another investor to pass it along to, I have a way to really help the seller. And once I figured out those three components, that's when my deal started to go from just $2,000 or $5,000 a deal to averaging 19 plus $1,000 a deal, which is what I ended up doing for 2022.
Mm. I
Love it.
love that. That's
You
awesome.
remove the distractions,
Mm-hmm.
which and for those listening, getting started, it happens. It happened to me definitely as well. My first year, like, even the year and a half, where I saw it working for someone else, and I was like, okay, let me give this a shot. Oh, this is coming out. Oh, let me give it a shot. Oh, commercial. Oh, let me give this a shot. What happens is, when you have all these distractions, you can't focus on one thing and actually like follow through on a process. So that was kind of
Exactly.
my big learning. So once I learned, like, okay, let me remove the fluff, let's remove the fat. What is something that works for me in my schedule? I work a
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5, SMS, bulk SMS. Okay, bam. Let me work on that and stick to my process for at least 3 months to see how that works. And then, if there's something that I need to add or tweak, that's what it is. But yeah, that's all I do is SMS and cold call. And
Mm-hmm.
once things started clicking, when I started looking at it as an investor and not like just like somebody starting out of like the money things, that I got that click as well. So for you guys, like, Thaabit literally just drew out the play.
The
Like,
play.
literally, you can take what he just said, play back as often because there's going to be replays,
Mm-hmm.
and follow that blueprint. And we know what's great,
100%.
especially if you're in a community like the U, there's a whole network of people you can work with and JV
Mm-hmm.
with. You have a deal or you have a buyer, reach out to somebody. Hey, I have some buyers. And anybody has any deals? Hey, let's work together. That's the beauty of wholesaling, and kind of following this process is you're not alone in it either. So
Right.
you're going to go through your hurdles, but keep your process simple, especially when it's just a one person show, because you're going to overcomplicate. You're going to want to do that, but stick to your
Mm-hmm.
process. I think that's probably the hardest part in creating consistency, is because people, like kind of shooting their eye. Like that one meme where it's like has the guy with the girl and he's looking over his shoulder and there's like a
Mm-hmm.
distracting. Like that's literally what
Mm-hmm.
happens to people when they want to start get into wholesaling. So
Yep.
remove the distractions, focus on your process, and see
Yep.
what happens.
No, you're
Exactly
exactly
right.
right. Yeah, I think a lot of people get caught up in the shiny, object
Mm.
syndrome, where this thing is trending now, this thing is trending now, and I should just jump on everything. But
Mm-hmm.
because we have a blueprint, which in Charged Up You, the blueprint is wholesaling, which is where we've all began. And as you continue to grow within the community, you start to identify other unique opportunities, And then we
Hmm.
start to grow beyond, wholesaling to where now, we become buyers, we become buy and hold investors. We find ways to facilitate deals, like
Mm-hmm.
Tim did, where you didn't even know it was possible to make money just kind of helping people put a deal together, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Those are the things that you kind of graduate to. But like you said, Gladia, you really have to just kind of dial in on a singular focus, eliminate the distractions. And I think for a lot of people that really should be wholesaling. I mean, I think that's the best strategy to get started in.
Absolutely.
100%.
If you
And
can
I
find
think,
a deal, you're good.
yeah,
Exactly.
no, I agree because you just rolled it out too. The blueprint is there. You guys got to replay that 100%. I think, with me, it was the same thing. Like, cold calling worked for me. As you guys know, I'm more of a networker. I like to get out there and network and meet people face to face type of thing. And so the SMS didn't really work for me at that time. And plus, I had a different job when I was first starting out, so I had to be there and be attentive. So I couldn't sit there with a with SMS. So another thing that might help people is that, partner up with somebody that is doing that feature, right? So let's say you're cold calling all the time, but you don't want to do SMS, or you don't have enough funds to do that. Then partner up with somebody, give them your list to do the SMS, and then if you get it locked up, then you can JV on that deal. So there's tons of ways to do deals like that. So I just suggest you follow that blueprint and then kind of take massive action like we talked about earlier and make that mental decision. Everybody, let's do it. Let's go.
Love it.
Definitely.
So I like to add, you are a published author. Keep the change. Like, you know,
Definitely.
uh, like what? Um, are you writing any other books or what's
Yeah,
up?
where's book 2, man?
It's on the way. It's on the way.
Hey, let's go.
So I've always had a passion for writing. I remember
Mm,
being in the third, fourth grade. I won. Well, I came second place in a state poetry contest, and
cool.
I was always the guy that was writing the love letters, and I
You're
had
the
a
romantic,
joy
bro.
of writing. I had a joy of writing. I never loved reading. Okay, so I didn't read my
Mm,
first book until I actually went to prison, but
mm,
writing has always been a passion of mine. And I knew that there were other people like myself who were really just struggling in life, trying to overcome challenges, working hard to overcome obstacles that were placed before them. But like myself, they didn't understand how to get out of it. So once I began to experience success, and once I was just able to change and elevate my mindset, I knew that this was something that I had to give out to the people. So I published the book, Keep the Change, Transformation from the Inside Out, as a blueprint to really help other people who just felt stuck and they just felt trapped and they didn't feel like they had the steps that they could take to really be successful in life. Being in this business and just experiencing success, I understood that it was all mindset, it was all mental, to think that one day I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be able to provide a legacy for my family and generations to come. You can't do that with broken thought processes. You have to be able to formulate a thought that's positive that then translate to positive action. Because for so long I dealt with so many different negative thoughts and emotions, and I didn't understand how to deal with those things. But the moment that I just simply made a decision that, what, like, I'm gonna be different, my future's gonna be different, and then I can begin to see it in my mind to know that it could be a possibility. That's when I was just able to start taking action and move my life towards the thing that I knew was then possible. So that's why I wrote the book, to really help other people, be in the position that I'm in now, which is just multiplying your income and just regaining control over your life.
love
Man,
it.
that's
I
that's
can't
powerful.
wait. I can't wait to see that. I just linked your website that has where you can order the book. So make sure you guys are able to cop that. We had Andre a couple weeks ago. Shout out to my guy Andre who was
Shout out
on
to
here.
Dre.
Shout out to Andre.
Uh, I had a cop a book myself, so I'll make sure to cop your book, Thaabit.
100%.
Always love that's a kind of a I talked about before an inspiration of mine as well to write. I was not a writer at all. Didn't do the love notes or with the nice little drawings and stuff. So you got me on that, but I think that's always kind of been a challenge where it's like that's not my strength, but let me try that out. So super congrats on that. That's amazing. Not many people can say they're a published author, so I love
I
love
know.
to hear that. We're about 10 minutes out before we head out, but I wanted to kind of ask, like, what's next for Thaabit? Like, I
Yeah.
know
What's
you're
next for
working a
you?
lot of things in the community, trying to help people get into real estate or just that entrepreneurial journey. You started a YouTube channel. Like, what's going on?
Definitely. So in business, in my real estate business, it's still booming. I literally had a deal that closed yesterday, and God willing, I have another deal that's closing today. So
Hey,
real estate is
congrats.
Let's
still
go.
booming. This is going to be a very good month for us. And I did multiple six figures in 2022. The goal for 2023, as it even was in 2022, is to do seven figures. So my goal is to do seven figures. And once again, just being in the you understand the importance of community. You understand the importance of relationships, and you understand the importance of not feeling like you have to do it alone. I've
Mm,
JB'd on
Right.
a lot of deals with a lot of great people that I've been able to build relationships with inside and outside of the you. So, in order for me to get the seven figures, once again, I know I can't do it myself. So if there's anybody out there that has deals, they're in a situation where they're trying to figure things out, make sure you hit me up. Make sure you hit up Gladia. Make sure that you hit up Tim. We're all resources to help you get your deals done. So in
hmm
business, it's definitely seven figures, but I feel like I really have a deeper purpose beyond just real estate, beyond just making a check. So the bigger goal that I have for this year is to be able to really impact more people, to help
mm.
more people transform and change their lives. And my goal is to help 100,000 people. It's a really big goal, I know,
I
but
know
it's
you
to
can do
help
it.
a
You
hundred
got this.
thousand people uncage their purpose and their passions to really live the lives that they've always dreamed of. And if I'm doing it, the person who, didn't graduate high school, I didn't even make it past the ninth grade. I ended up getting my GED. I worked minimum wage jobs for years. If I can do this, trust and believe that you can do it as well. And once again, we're here to help. So I want to be able to impact as many people as possible in 2023.
I love
Man, I
it. Well,
love
you're
it.
you're on your way there, bro. I see what you're doing. It's super inspiring. Um,
100%.
100,000 seems like a lot, but I know if there's anybody that can do it, I know you can. You're well on your way. Super proud of seeing like again your progress from when you started to where you're at now. Um, you know, and like Tim said, we look up to you for sure.
hmm
So if there's anything that you need, like just let us know. Hopefully we can work some deals together as well, but this is the power, right, of like building
Yep.
relationships. And I think Chris kind of also mentioned it too, where it's like once it stops being about the money, like that's where things like really start happening. Because when you
hmm
know when you're getting started, you need that money, right? You need to pay bills, pay off your debt. But once like things are kind of stabilized and then things start happening, then it becomes bigger than that. Then it's like money doesn't really matter, like you said, right? Then you're like, all right, what can I do with this? Like, how can I make a change?
hmm
And so that's kind of the point I want to get to, where it's like, all right, I'm good. I'm good financially, right?
hmm
Where can
Exactly.
I do to help people? Where can I take my message, my story to the next level? So that's super inspiring. Make sure you guys show some love to my guy Thaabit. Amazing,
100%.
amazing story. Make sure you reach out to him on IG at Thaabit Speaks. I linked his website here. Thaabit, is there any other way for the audience to reach out to you? If anybody wants to reach out, I think it's just IG.
Yeah, you could definitely hit me up on IG. And make sure you follow my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. because I will be putting out more content
Let's
to once
go.
again, help you understand just how to change and transform and elevate your life.
I love it. I love it. Make sure you guys can just type in his name, Thaabit Hedgepeth, and I'm sure you'll find it there. We'll also make sure to link all those
Yeah.
in our show notes. Last but not least, before we take off, what do you want to leave the audience with? You've left the audience with a lot already, but like you can pick like one thing before kind of heading out on the high note. What would you like?
Yeah, I think the key for most people is once again, just letting go of that comfort zone. Wherever you are right now, if you're struggling, if you feel trapped, if you feel like you're unfulfilled, if you feel like you have this purpose and passion inside of you that you haven't been able to tap into, the key to that is just really letting go of all of the fears that you have, all the uncertainty you have, and, begin to hold on to the thing that you know that's going to get you there, that you can actually control, which is just daily action. Daily action is the solution to all of your problems.
That's it. You heard it here first.
You know it.
Hey,
Know it.
I always say I love to bring people back to the podcast. So definitely next year around this time, excited to
100%.
kind of see what kind of what came out of 2023 for you. I know it's going to be huge. Again, you guys, if you guys found value in this, make sure you guys subscribe, like, reach out to us. We're on every Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's kill it. 2023, Jordan year, as I
Yes.
say.
Let's
This
go.
is our
Jordan
time.
year.
Definitely.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
so much, Thaabit.
Yeah,
We
thank you,
appreciate
man.
you. We
Appreciate
Appreciate
you.
y'all having me.
Yeah, have a great rest of the week, guys. We'll see y'all next week. We got another guest as well, a returning guest. Got my guy Jeff Trimble, who was started in the U. It's my guy doing amazing things as well.
Hmm.
So make sure you tune in next Wednesday. But catch y'all later. Have a good one, y'all.
All right.